As the investigation into Nancy Guthrie's disappearance pressed forward, the black glove remained a focal point, and forensic teams worked around the clock, meticulously analyzing every fiber, fingerprint, and possible DNA trace, knowing that even the smallest match could provide the breakthrough investigators desperately needed. Every step was methodical, almost surgical, with law enforcement combing through databases, comparing patterns to known suspects, and consulting behavioral experts to reconstruct the movements and motives of the masked figure, while in the background, dozens of search teams fanned out across neighborhoods, desert trails, and nearby roads, sometimes covering the same territory multiple times to ensure nothing was overlooked. And as each day passed, the tension mounted, not just among officials but within Nancy's family, who followed every press briefing, every tip line update, and every social media mention, understanding that the fate of a loved one hung on the razor-thin margin between a lead that panned out and one that dissolved into uncertainty, a margin so fragile that investigators balanced hope with caution at every turn. Part 2. Paragraph 2. The discovery of additional surveillance footage added layers of complexity to the case, showing fleeting glimpses of the masked individual in different parts of the neighborhood, movements that analysts studied repeatedly, looking for identifying characteristics, gait, and the timing of each action, all while residents reported anything unusual: a door left ajar, a car parked too long, unfamiliar footsteps, contributing to a mosaic of clues that might one day converge into a clear picture, and every reported tip, whether confirmed or dismissed, became part of the operational rhythm of the investigation, with dispatchers coordinating teams to follow up, law enforcement reviewing video from nearby intersections, and forensic analysts cross-referencing with the glove and other potential trace evidence, all conducted under the weight of public scrutiny, media attention, and the very real emotional stakes for Nancy's family, whose fear and hope were inseparable, intertwining with the painstaking work of agents striving to turn fragments of evidence into a coherent narrative capable of leading them to her. Part 2. Paragraph 3. Meanwhile, the public's attention never waned, and each press release, social media update, and news segment became a mix of hope, speculation, and pressure, reflecting both the fascination and anxiety surrounding the case. Behavioral experts discussed possible profiles of the masked figure. Analysts debated whether the glove could indicate premeditation or opportunism, and citizens shared tips, sometimes confirming details, other times creating false leads, forcing investigators to sift through the noise while maintaining focus on the most credible evidence. And all of this played out against the backdrop of Nancy's family continuing to humanize the story, sharing memories, pleading for information, and keeping the narrative grounded in the urgent reality of an elderly woman who needed daily medication and whose disappearance left a void in both her family and community, while investigators quietly coordinated multiple operations, tracking digital footprints, revisiting locations, and retracing the masked figure's potential path, knowing that every decision, every step, and every analysis carried consequences that could ultimately determine whether Nancy would be found. Part 2, Paragraph 4. With each day that passed, the tension escalated as the black glove and its forensic potential loomed large over the investigation, symbolizing both the fragility and promise of hope. Whether it ultimately held DNA, fingerprints, or other trace evidence could dramatically shift the trajectory of the search, and as law enforcement balanced methodical analysis with the urgent need for progress, the emotional intensity for Nancy's family intensified, each new update a roller coaster of relief, anxiety, and anticipation, mirrored by the public who followed the story closely, captivated by the meticulous detective work, the unseen efforts in labs and on desert trails, and the very human stakes of fear and hope interwoven into every action. And as investigators continued to explore every avenue, every tip, and every piece of evidence, the question remained: would this black glove be the key that finally unlocks the mystery of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance and guides her safely home? Or would it become another haunting symbol of uncertainty, leaving the search suspended in tension while hope and determination drive those closest to her to continue the fight?